All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to talk about the Denver Broncos and them officially releasing quarterback Russell Wilson. So, one of the things that many people were talking about is how this arguably could be the worst trade of all time. Definitely is up there. Based off of what the Seahawks got back in return, what they turned the draft picks into, but just now the Broncos are now Russell Wilson has an $85 million cap hit, dead money cap hit for them, and it's one of the largest dead money charges in NFL history, and I mean that's that is definitely going to set them back. And I think they're definitely going to draft a quarterback. I think that's probably the most likely thing is you're going to draft a quarterback. I mean, they don't have the quarterback on the roster, but it's just, you thought it couldn't get worse, but it kind of has. And the Broncos, listen, they weren't awful this year, or they weren't awful last year, but releasing Russell Wilson and, now you have this huge dead money hit. It's not good. Not good for the Broncos. But I want to go back to the trade. So, the Broncos, they gave up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 1 fifth-round pick for Russell Wilson. The Seahawks also got in return Drew Lock, Noah Fant, and Shelby Harris. Now, Shelby Harris is no longer on the Seahawks. Noah Fant has been okay for them at the tight end spot. And Drew Lock didn't really play that much. Did beat the Eagles, so I'll give him that. But, yeah, he didn't really play. It was more about the draft picks, because the draft picks they turned into Charles Cross, who's on their offensive line, Boy Mafe, I think that's how you pronounce it. I looked it up, the pronunciation last night. I think I might have mispronounced it. And Devin Witherspoon, who was one of the best rookies, better defensive rookie players in 2023. Actually, I was looking it up. So, actually, Mafe set a franchise sack record. He had a sack in 7 straight games, and this was last year, in 2023. The previous record was held by Michael Sinclair, had 6 straight games with a sack between 1997 and 1998. So, guy was making an impact. I think he finished with 9 sacks on the season I was looking at. Witherspoon, he did have that pick 6 off of Daniel Jones earlier in the season. He also had 3 sacks during the year. But yeah, he's been a good player for them, especially in his first year. Since the trade, the Seahawks have achieved a 17-15 record and made the postseason in 2022. This might be a little old, but actually no, I think that might be right. But yeah, I mean, the Seahawks, they made the playoffs in 2022, and they could have made the playoffs this year. Last year they fell a little bit short. But yeah, the Broncos, the first season with Russell Wilson was not good. It was not good. Now, that also falls on the fact that Nathaniel Hackett just was in over his head. It just didn't really work out there. So they did bring in Sean Payton, and Russell Wilson was better, but still at times, wasn't great. But it definitely took a step forward a little bit with Sean Payton. But I did want to go through Russell Wilson's stats, because now he's he's on the market. Obviously still wants to play. So I just wanted to pull that up. Sorry, I have to get rid of the tips for a second. But yeah, so this is on footballreference.com. I just pulled up that. I figured haven't used the graphic in a while. So, but yeah, I mean. You look at what he did let's go back to 2020. So this was like the last full season for Russell Wilson with the Seahawks, because then in 2021 obviously missed some time with injury. I think it was like it was one of his fingers, because he hit his hand on someone's helmet. I think it was Aaron Donald, and that forced him to miss some time. But His last full season, 40 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. Then following season, 25 touchdowns to 6 picks. Then his first season with Denver, 16 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. And then this past season, 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Actually played in the same amount of games, but about 500 less passing yards. But yeah, and again, last full season, 4,200 yards passing. Now, the completion percentage, especially with the Broncos in 2022, is down. Yeah, I mean, he's regressed, and now he's a free agent. Where can he go? So the likely destinations could possibly be, well, this is at least from CBS what I saw on their Instagram. So there's the Falcons, the Steelers. Although my friend who's a Steelers fan just said the Steelers have no interest in him, but I don't know how true that is. The Titans is an interesting spot. This is according to CBS. The Vikings, the Titans, the Steelers, and the Falcons. So we'll see. I did see something though that Kirk Cousins. It's a rumor that he's willing to move his family to Atlanta. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, if that's true. Because again, I was saying, yeah, the most likely scenario is him going back to the Vikings, but not so fast. But yeah, I mean, I think Russell Wilson still deserves to get a job elsewhere. I mean, yeah, look, 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. You just look at that and you're like, wow, he had a good season. But you also have to look into it a little deeper. Because you watch every Broncos game. I mean, you go back and you watch the Lions game and the Texans game. I mean, when they went up against better teams, they didn't do so well. I mean, they did beat the Browns earlier in the season, but that was also because they had DTR starting. The Browns, the quarterback situation was a mess for them. But again, they still ended up making the playoffs. But, you could also point to that. But I don't know, because a lot of people talk about Russell Wilson. He would either throw it deep to Cortland Sutton or he would just check it down to the running back. So listen, he was not the same quarterback that he was in Seattle. So I don't know if we're ever going to see that again, even if he goes somewhere else, even if he steps into a better situation. But I just know that the Broncos and him, it just did not work out. And again, like I said before going to break, Ben DiNucci and Jared Stidham, I believe, are the only quarterbacks left on the roster. So, they're going to probably draft one. And, you got the $80 million dead cap or dead money hit that you're going to get from this, which, again, is astronomical. You got the Chargers that are going to be improving, the Raiders. The Chiefs, of course, are still there. What does that mean for you? You're kind of, in a tough spot. But they put themselves in this situation. And look, I thought Russell Wilson was going to step into that role with the Broncos, and the Broncos were going to be a good team again. But that just did not pan out because again, the careers are different. Although Russell Wilson did beat Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl. But, when the Broncos got Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning stepped in there, and this team, they went to 2 Super Bowls. The second one, it was when Peyton Manning was done. But they still made it. They made it twice. The first year was when, the Broncos offense was the best offense on the planet at the time. Even the first year, too. He had a good season. 2014, that was when things started to trend down. 2014 was like the last of very good Peyton Manning, and then he got hurt, and then that was kind of when he started to show his decline. And then 2015 was just, at least offensively for him, was a mess. But again, they won the Super Bowl, and since that point, the Broncos, and now it continues. The Broncos have just been looking for that replacement. They brought, like, Trevor Siemian. He took over the first year without Peyton. They drafted Paxton Lynch. That didn't work out. Case Keenum, he was the starting quarterback for them after what he did with the Vikings. The Broncos signed him. That didn't pan out. Joe Flacco was the starter for them at one point. They drafted Drew Lock, and that just never really panned out. They've just been going. Brock Osweiler actually came back. He left to go play for the Texans. He signed that big contract, and that didn't pan out for the Texans, and they ended up drafting Deshaun Watson. Brock Osweiler came back in 2017. He started a few games for them. But they've gone through quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, and they haven't been able to find it. And you thought with Russell Wilson, hey, this is it right here. Just like when they had Peyton Manning. Now you're bringing Russell Wilson, who's on that trajectory to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's going to work out. And it didn't work out. So now they got to look for another quarterback. And, listen, they're going to give Sean Payton time, and he's going to probably draft his guy. We don't know who that's going to be. And then they go from there. But, with this dead money hit, this is really going to hurt the Broncos. So they're going to have to figure it out. But the division is getting better. So, but yeah, the marriage between these two parties has ended, and Russell Wilson will be playing for a new team next year, and we'll see who it is. Maybe he goes back to Seattle. I keep saying that as a joke, but we'll just have to see. I think he still has. I think he can still play. It's just I don't know if you're going to see, based off of what we've seen the last couple of seasons, I don't think we're going to see the Russell Wilson that we saw in Seattle. I don't think we're going to see that. I think we might see more of this. So we'll see who ends up taking him. Another team is actually the Giants, because apparently, they seem to be done with Daniel Jones. They regret paying him. Maybe that's a team that takes a chance on Russell Wilson. I don't know. If they did, okay. But again, the Giants have so many other issues besides quarterback, which I think, again, I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy, but, we'll just have to see. But that's another team that comes to mind as well. So, with that being said, we are going to take our second break of the show, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about Dak Prescott. We'll talk about him and the Cowboys, him optimistic that the Cowboys will get a new deal done. But before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys again, now we got to get rid of this and get back the donations. So once again, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcspodcast.net. Really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcspodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back, we'll talk about Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.